Hi, I'm Jessica Rogers with the Pacific Palisades Residents Association, and I've got with me here today
Mel Wingfield.
And he's going to tell us a story about a little experience that he's had in his life, and he's going to answer some questions for us. So, Mel, you are a father of two, and you've been raising them mostly in the Pacific Palisades for a good number of years.
Since they were born, yeah.
And you had a little bout with addiction, is that correct?
It was like a big heavyweight championship 15-round bout. It wasn't just a little one, but yes, I did. And it was very difficult to overcome. And, one of the things that made it so difficult to overcome was the accessibility to it, and that it's everywhere. And don't let anybody tell you differently that every one of those tarps and tents has meth or heroin in it in Venice. When I lived in Venice Beach, you never met anybody that had a series of bad breaks in life and ended up homeless. It was always a serious drug and alcohol addiction that they did not want to stop doing. And after I worked my way off the streets and got into a sober living and got my car and started to get jobs, I would go back to Venice to try to inspire my homeless brothers. Because I love my homeless brothers. Don't get me wrong, I love them. A lot of good friends of mine are still down there. And a lot of good people, a lot of smart people down there, a lot of savvy people. They plug into the bottom of street lamps at the end of the night, plug power strips into them, and then they have generators now. They have flat screens. They have computers in there. They're doing fraud. They're doing meth and heroin all day long. And they said to me, "Look, you're our hero. We love you, but we don't want what you want. We want to smoke drugs with no consequences, get fed free food, and look at the Pacific Ocean all day. We want to deal our dope, sell our dope, and act like we're gangsters. And that's just the life they want." And for me, I obviously fell into that life because the drug addiction was so powerful. But it's certainly not what I wanted at the end of the day. For me, it was a party that spun out of control, and I was homeless for the better part of a year and a half. And the last 9 months of that homelessness were straight streets, and ended up in this bush over here, and I worked my way off of it.
So your motivation, was it your children?
It was my children, but it was also that I knew that when I was born, I wasn't born to be a meth addict on Venice Beach, a meth addict, misdemeanor criminal on Venice Beach. And that's basically what you become. And I knew that, but the children was a huge motivating factor, of course. But at the same time, I knew that I was not born to be this person.
But you knew there was more to life, and you really wanted to fight for it.
Absolutely. I wanted to fight for it, tooth and nail. And I said to myself, this is it. I accept I'm homeless, and I'm going to get out of it. To have a meth village built at Will Rogers Beach, it would just be devastating.
We have a councilman who's suggesting that right now it's at a stage of a feasibility study, but we all know what that means. And so now it's just a matter of paperwork to bring in what they call temporary years. We're talking years of having homeless shelters built at the beach, and in an environment that is utterly dehumanizing for homeless people, and definitely not inspiring them to get any better. You see that as an opportunity, if you were to be living in a place like that, as an opportunity to get better?
You have to want it. And from my experience, like I said, there's nobody down there that had a series of bad breaks in life and lost their home and went to the streets. It's all a common denominator of heavy alcohol and drug use that they don't want to stop doing. You've got to want it, and I don't think that they want it. I think that that you have a lot of people down there that are not from LA that are just kind of down there, just living an experimental life down there on drugs and alcohol. And there's a lot of acid down there now, and the Sherm stick, which is PCP. And, the meth, of course, is rampant. And you got to want it. And I don't think they're going to want it.
I believe there are some people just like you who every once in a while do say, have that moment, that breakthrough moment, and say, I want to try. So let's say they do get people who do want to try. Our biggest concern is during the day, they're out there wandering, and if the dope man knows he's got 50 to 100 accessible people to come sell to, he'll be right outside the door waiting for them. So that's a really big concern of ours. And then they'll notice that they have freedoms here. There's a lot of places for them to hide.
Yeah, absolutely. And they might. I think that, you're right. There are people that want to try, but there are places where they can go try. There's Impact in Pasadena. There's Claire Foundation, Chico and 11th. There's shelters. There's other places to do it. I mean, it just would be absolutely absurd to bring them into the neighborhood because.
You're saying it's dangerous for the community.
Absolutely dangerous, unbelievably dangerous. These people are starting to take ownership of the sidewalks that their tarps and tents are on. They're getting vigilant and violent. And if you get stuck in traffic down there, they'll smash your window out with a skateboard and say, "Get off our block." There's a gang element down there, or 2 gang elements down there, which I always kind of found was a joke because they live in tents. And, how could a gangster really live in a tent? I mean, Al Capone was a gangster to me. He lived in a hotel. It's like it's unbelievable to me that they would even begin to think that way. But no, I think it's extremely dangerous to the community because God forbid a kid in this neighborhood decides to do meth once, and the next thing you know he's trying to quit. Well, he knows where to go get it. It's so accessible, so easy to get. It's right down the street here, Will Rogers Beach, all of a sudden, and it's not a good influence. It's not a good idea.
So people have a better understanding. Before you made the choice to become a meth addict, you had a good life. You made really good money, and you provided for your family, and you clearly provided them with the lifestyle that the Pacific Palisades offers. So it's not like you were always struggling on and off the streets your whole life. You actually had a good life before this happened.
That's right, I did. And I had some success in the acting world. And, I did 11 commercials, 1 went national. I was in a bunch of TV shows and movies and web series. And I did stand-up at the Comedy Store. I was in a couple regular shows there for about 3.5 years. And, it spun out of control, and I made terrible choices, and the drug turned my brain completely upside down.
So I was thinking, what is it that, sure, you're saying they're having fun, but you also said that there were really dark times down there, and there's clearly a lot of despair. We see the horrific violence that goes on there all the time. People are witnessing, and I'm assuming for women who are addicted to this drug, the violence is even more horrific. What do you say, like, in terms of their ability to even be awake enough to even question whether they should, do another dose of meth or consider another option? Do they actually have a choice, some of these people, do you believe?
These are all basically misdemeanor homeless criminals. And the police, when they made all the drug laws misdemeanors, they stopped arresting them for it because they're going to get right back out of jail. With COVID, they're not even going to go to jail. The whole problem happened with the police, defund the police, so you got officers that are scared to do their jobs because they don't want to lose their pensions. They have lives and families and wives, and I don't blame them. And so, it's become a real mess. And yes, dark times. Women prostitute themselves constantly. They would disappear off the streets for a couple days. But no, they constantly steal from each other all the time. There's constantly problems. This guy's mad at this guy. And, when at 4 in the morning comes around and there's no police around, they certainly don't want to mess with these people. They're attacking each other and stealing from each other all day long, It's just what happens. It's part of the lifestyle. Look, these people in this neighborhood are rich. They work hard. They've earned it. They've earned the right to be in a safe place and not to have a bunch of meth addict criminals in their neighborhood.
While you were getting sober, before you actually got real housing, meaning not rehabs or those kinds of things, you actually lived on the streets while you were getting sober. And so it is possible to be living on the streets and get sober.
They save my life every day.
It's beautiful to witness. Thank you so much again for sharing all this with us.
Thank you for being here.